Thank you. I'm going to grab this microphone because I like to wander around a little bit. First off, Dr. Phillips, thank you very much for inviting us here and for all of your work. As was mentioned, I'm Aaron Meisner. I'm the chairman of Stop Slots Maryland. I'm a volunteer. I'm going to tell a quick story about our friend Peter Franchot, Comptroller Franchot. When he ran for comptroller, he ran against former Governor Schaefer and Janet Owens, who was a county executive, a very powerful woman. And I was at his victory party on election night. And they, I don't know if you've ever seen these things on TV, but they have the television sets up in the room so everybody can watch the returns come in. And so they had the television news anchors, and one of them was saying, well, we're here at the Schaefer headquarters. We're watching the returns roll in because people were expecting Schaefer to win. And then they said, well, let's throw it over to the Janet Owens campaign in Annapolis. And she thought she might win. They had cameras there. And then they wrapped that up, and they were about to say, I was expecting them to say, and now we're going to throw it over to the Franchot headquarters. And I looked around the room to see where the camera was, and there was no camera because nobody thought that Peter Franchot was going to win. Now, the reason I tell that story is ever since I got involved in this slot machine issue back in 2002, people have been telling me, why are you bothering with this? This is going to pass. And back when it was being fought in Annapolis, people would tell me all the time, oh, the governor wants this. It's his #1 priority. The lobbying. These guys are spending $1 million a year on campaign contributions and on lobbying costs. It's going to pass. Why are you wasting your time? Well, I refused to listen to that, and we kept fighting, and we would win year after year after year. And now, this is going to referendum. The gambling industry, in addition to the $10 million that they spent in the last 10 years in Annapolis, has spent $3.8 million on this campaign. They have a professional staff. They have hired folks running all over the state. They got more lawn signs than I've ever seen before in my life. But they're not in people's front yards. They're in the public right-of-way, which means nobody said put that out there. They're just sticking them where they want to put them because nobody seems to really want this. So people are saying to me, you really think you can win this? And I always think back to that night with Peter Franchot. On November 4th, we intend to win this. Okay? Now, I got involved in this back in 2002 when Governor Ehrlich was first elected. As Pastor Phillips mentioned, I live in Baltimore City. I live in Mount Washington. Okay, now Mount Washington is a beautiful, leafy neighborhood that happens to be right across the street from Pimlico Racetrack. Okay? And when Governor Ehrlich started talking about this, I didn't know anything about slot machines. So I thought, well, let me look into this. I'm in the investment business. We do research. So I started doing research, and I found out a few things about slot machine gambling. I didn't find out very much that was very comforting. Okay? What I found out is that these slot machines that they're talking about are not like the slot machines that you remember from the 50s and 60s. Remember those big chrome-plated machines with the big handle, the reels and the bells? Well, that's not what we're talking about here. Not that those machines didn't create huge devastation in southern Maryland, so much so that they were ultimately banned. Governor Tawes did that. It's really a huge contribution to Maryland, to southern Maryland especially. But those machines, as devastating as they were, that's not what we're talking about today. What we have today are computer terminals that are hardwired into mainframe computer systems. Okay? These systems are manufactured by large companies with names like International Game Technology and Williams Technologies. Okay, now why are these companies, why are they technology companies? Well, this is a software business now. This is a business of computer programming. And who writes these computer programs? Well, these companies hire teams of behavioral scientists, people who understand how your mind works better than you do. Okay? And these machines are built so that you have your little gambler, rewards card, and you swipe it through the machine as you sit down to gamble. Now, what do they know about you when you swipe your card? Well, you registered for the card, so you told them where you live, how old you are, okay? And they take it from there. So they know what your house is worth. Your mortgage is a matter of public record, so they know that. They know when you last visited the casino. They know how much you lost. They know how long you played each individual machine. Okay? They're using all of that information to get your money. Okay? Now, the industry has this great term. It's called play to extinction. Okay, now, what is play to extinction? Play to extinction means they don't want your first dollar. They don't want your $100th. They don't want your $1,000th. They want your last dollar. That's the goal. And this industry is engaged in the business of making the most addictive machines, the machines that get the last dollar as quickly as possible. That's the best kind of slot machine to own if you own slot machines. Now, in this bill, what happens is the state of Maryland will buy or lease these machines. That's you and me. The state of Maryland, the taxpayers of the state of Maryland. And I believe this will be the first time in the history of our state where we, the people, will award the contract to the company that can provide the most devastating, destructive machine possible. How do you like that? So that's what I found out was coming to my neighborhood in 2002. And so I got involved. I started going to Annapolis. I met Pastor Phillips. I met a lot of wonderful people who fought hard. Okay? And somehow we managed to get to this point. Now, where are we? Well, we're a few weeks away from November 4th. We're a few weeks away from the day when Marylanders are going to get an opportunity to decide whether they want to prey upon each other, whether they want to invite predatory gambling into the state of Maryland. I intend to work tirelessly for the next few weeks to make sure that that doesn't happen, that we don't get this problem in our state. So what do I need you to do? What I need you to do is talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your coworkers. They're going to tell you, some people are going to tell you, oh, this is money for education. This money's going to schools. Well, it's always for the children, right? If anybody ever tells you it's for the children, hold on to your wallet. The way this works is they're going to set up something called an education trust fund. And it sounds great. It reminds me of the old lock box. You remember that? It's going to go in a lock box. So you're going to have this education trust fund. And they're saying it could be $600 million. Well, to get that $600 million, Marylanders, that's us, have to lose $1.4 billion a year. That's got to come out of our economies. That's got to come out of the small businesses here in Cecil County. Did I pronounce that right? You got it, buddy. All right. That's got to come out of our business communities here. That's got to come out of our church collection plates. That's got to come out of our college savings. That's got to come out of our retirement savings. That's where that money's going to come from. Now, that's going to have huge costs, by the way. Tax receipts are going to go down. Even the lottery is going to suffer. That's how much of a competitor this is. But your local restaurants, you can forget about that. They're not going to be able to compete with a $2.99 buffet at the casino. But the money